together. They ask why. Every hidden corner, every alibi. They risk it all, they take the fall for the truth that will stand tall.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Tracy Derwin, and Shane is also here. I think he'll just be in the background talking a little bit about this topic. But I did do a little bit of a change last minute because there were so many things going on with the missing or unalived scientists that I did want to include it in this one. And then we'll follow it up with the like the abilities, Sasquatch, and their association with mining and what that could be about. So if you want to put in the chat where you're watching from, and we'll put some of them up on screen. So I feel like the missing scientist is completely mainstream, and historically these things have not been publicized. It's not a new phenomenon. I mean, we have, for example, Stanley Meyer, who under very, very suspicious circumstances dropped dead in a parking lot of a restaurant. So there are many examples of scientists, people with knowledge of very important information who have mysteriously either unalived themselves, just gone missing, or were in very tragic accidents. So this is not new, but I think this is the first time that we have the White House involved. We have all the mainstream networks discussing it and putting it together that it's a large number of scientists in a short period of time. So I'm not going to go into all of them. I'll touch a little on a few, and then we'll discuss what these scientists were associated with, like the fields that they were in, and how the anomalies of cryptids could kind of shine some light and give us a better understanding of this information that's being hidden. So we'll try to, bridge those topics today. And I feel like everyone has heard this story. But just yesterday, I think David Wilcox, was either Monday or yesterday. So David Wilcox, he's not a high-level scientist. He is a researcher, and he was involved with documentaries, TV shows about disclosure. He was on Ancient Aliens, and he died yesterday or the day before under very suspicious circumstances. He was in the front yard of his home with a weapon in his hand, and the authorities were called. And my understanding is when they got there is when he used it and unalived himself. And it's unusual because he seemed to be in good spirits just 2 days before this happened. So I'll play a little clip of his last live stream.
I'm excited to be here. Every day that I have on earth is a gift and a blessing, and I'm very grateful for that because, frankly, people are disappearing. Scientists are going missing. Now they're saying they're going to investigate this. The president himself is saying they're going to look into this and see if anything's going on. It's a little bit scary. I got to say, it's a little bit scary, but you guys knew that I might still show up even though it was last minute and I've had a really rough week. That's kind of like every week, but somehow we keep on making it through all of this.
So to me, he didn't seem unhinged or, like he was about to do something crazy. So to me, that is suspicious. Okay, and then I'll touch a little on Amy Eskridge. And this was a few years ago. This was in 2022. And I'll let Shane's more familiar with her background.
Yeah, so Amy Eskridge is kind of well known in the UAP research community, and she did die in June of 2022 at the age of 46 under some really suspicious circumstances. Dr. Amy Eskridge was a prominent physicist known for her groundbreaking research in gravity modification technologies, and her work aimed to unlock new possibilities in energy and propulsion systems. Allegedly, she was also, well, she was a former propulsion expert at NASA, but she allegedly was blowing the whistle on not only anti-gravity, but on Project Looking Glass as well. And so she is included by the UAP community to be among this group of scientists who are missing or dead under unusual circumstances.
Okay, and then I'll show this graph. These are the previous ones. And so, yeah, there's just a lot of them in a short period of time. And the most, I would say, high profile of them is General McCaslin. So Neil McCaslin. And he had been in this field for a long time. I'll put some of the projects he was on. So he was not just involved in these classified programs, but he was the director of special programs under the Secretary of Defense for Acquisition, Technology, and Logistics for 3 years. So from 2009 to 2011. And so he was in charge of approving budget. So he made high-level decisions. And I'm sure he had a lot of knowledge about dark programs, including directed energy weapons, advanced aerospace systems, hypersonic propulsion, and unacknowledged black programs. So this was well known. And his disappearance is very strange. He lives in New Mexico, and he left his belongings at home and just left the house. And immediately a search ensued. The FBI got involved very quickly. And my understanding is he has not been found. And the search sounds pretty intense. They have like air support, and even like senators or congressmen went there from out of state to help look for him. So I do feel like our officials are very concerned about finding him. But my understanding is they have no idea what happened to him. It sounds like he may have been abducted. Okay, this is a scientist, Carl Grillmeyer, and he was unalived by a man who is in custody. Carl was a very seasoned scientist, a professor at Caltech in California. And so, again, he was involved with NASA, a lot of like space exploration. He was like the first one to detect water in the atmosphere of an exoplanet. So he's very, very intelligent. And this just happened February 16th of this year. And the man that they caught doing this is Freddie Schneider. They haven't figured out the motive or if they knew each other. This man, Freddie, the authorities were called months before because he had trespassed onto Carl's property, but Carl didn't press charges. And he was also carjacked someone. So some are kind of writing this off as like a separate thing, but I do think it is connected to the other disappearances. Another one that I think is significant is Monica Reza. And she worked for the JPL, Jet Propulsion Lab here in Southern California. And this is this is last year, June of last year. But what makes her disappearance very, very strange, she was hiking with a friend in the Angeles National Forest, and she just disappeared. The person she was with, I think, said they took their eyes off her for a few minutes, and then they looked and she was gone. So it sounds like one of those missing 411, just like she just disappeared. So what makes her so important is she was one of the founders of a patent that they have a company called Mondeloy, and she invented a nickel-based superalloy used in advanced rocket systems. So it's very strong yet light. And the person that she founded the patent with, they're all actually gone. So she was the only surviving founding member of that patent. And she was with, sounds like she was with Jet Propulsion Lab for a long time. And then here's a little about Carl. This is just his bio. And I thought this was interesting because one of his research interests was dark matter. And if you look into dark matter, I think people that are in the know, like Shane said, dark matter is not a actual thing. It's more of that's like a science, right?
Well, so there is an extra amount of gravity in the universe that's like kind of holding it together and is being attributed to dark matter. But I do think that there are forces of attraction and repulsion that should be attributed to electric charge or electric current, because it is an electric universe with not only static charges, but active currents as well. And so those will create electrostatic attraction and repulsion that I think is falsely being attributed to dark matter and dark energy.
I think the focus should be on plasma and not dark matter, because
Absolutely.
they have proven our universe is mainly made up of plasma, like over 99%. So it seems like that the dark matter is kind of like a cover, so we don't look in the right place. Kind of, that's what it seems like to me.
Right.
Okay, so we're gonna try to bridge the gap between these two topics, as we're gonna discuss Bigfoot. But I'm hoping that because these scientists were associated with fields that involve anomalies that are also associated with cryptids, we can maybe have a better understanding of these abilities and better understand the importance of the fields that these researchers were investigating. So that's why I wanted to include this information right here. And this is just a part of the phenomena that is seen with Bigfoot. And this encounter is very rare. I have not heard of this happening in this way, but these two men were driving in the mountains in Oregon, and they saw something very, very unusual.
And I try to rationalize it in my mind that it could have been something else, but it wasn't.
So that was what they saw. I'll play it again, but I'm gonna first play a little. So there's two men, Cody and I forgot the other guy's name. There's a younger guy named Cody, and they're gonna, in their own words, from the location where they saw this Bigfoot transform into another type of energy and then take off, they're gonna give a little bit of what they witnessed.
Bright orange, an unnatural orange, an orange where the sun would hit it, but it was still brighter than any other object around in the area. And this is all in a matter of 8 to 10 seconds that we watched this thing, from the road to us stopping here and looking out over the creek to see if we can spot this creature that had just vanished over the bushes.
At 10:15, it was directly behind us, and the sun was right on this road. I mean, this was lit up bright, bright. But the part that amazed me was when it levitated, when it turned into that geometric square. Was it geometric to you, Cody? What did you see?
In the beginning, it was soft. It almost didn't have how we have, how there's a line where something begins and ends. It was almost like it was soft, and it was either had very fine fibrous hair and or emitting some type of energy that it produces, whatever this creature was. And that's when we knew that this couldn't have been an elk. Our first call out was an elk, because that's all we could think of an animal in this area that's native to the region that would be that tall. But as we came around that corner and saw what we finally saw, we knew that once that object had taken over the bushes, that it was nothing that we have ever seen before in our lives.
I'll link this interview. It was on Flash of Beauty. It's a really great channel, very high production value, interviewing people who have witnessed mainly, Sasquatch. I'll play what they saw. They worked with an artist to recreate what they saw.
And I try to rationalize it in my mind that it could have been something else, but it wasn't.
And I believe that they saw this 100%. So we're seeing an ability, and no one really knows what was going on there, but I believe, and I've believed for a while, that Sasquatch can draw energy from nature, either within the rocks surrounding them, also from water. I feel like they're often seen in or around bodies of water. And I also think that they can draw on the Earth's energy, 0 point energy, or the electromagnetic forces that are around our planet. And I think ultimately that is one of the big secrets that they're hiding when they try to deny the existence of Sasquatch. I do think that is the thing that they don't want the public to understand. And I do kind of understand that, because just imagine if we all could do that. Maybe our species, humans, aren't spiritually, emotionally ready to take on that responsibility. I don't know if a human can do that, but I don't think it's about our mental stability. I think the big secret behind Sasquatch is their very powerful and unique abilities, and there are many. Okay, and then, so now should I go to the quantum entanglement?
Sure. I just really quick would like to add that humans actually can and should do grounding practices, where they actually go out and like touch the grass or the ground with their bare skin and try to actually absorb electrons. That is something humans can do.
Yeah, I think there's so much knowledge that has been hidden from us as far as our ability to connect with nature and draw on the powers of our environment. And we've just been told that that doesn't exist. Okay, and just to show this again, this is the Bigfoot reports in North America, and you can see they're concentrated in certain areas. And I do think that has to do with the things that I talked about, the earth, the rocks, water, and the position on the planet. Okay, and then Cabin in the Woods did this video, and he's like, I feel like always like a step ahead of me in making that connection, but he's going to connect quantum entanglement or quantum science to abilities of animals that we know of.
Quantum biology, and it proves that animals are already utilizing the quantum realm. Known animals, I'm not talking about Sasquatch here. Take the European robin, for example. For decades, scientists couldn't figure out how a tiny bird could navigate thousands of miles across the globe with such pinpoint accuracy. We now know they use a phenomenon that baffled even Albert Einstein: quantum entanglement. When a single particle of light enters the bird's eye, it triggers a bizarre quantum reaction that acts like a biological compass, letting the bird actually see the Earth's magnetic lines in the sky. Think about a simple leaf catching sunlight. Instead of the energy stumbling through the plant's cells like a rat in a maze trying one path at a time, the plant uses a quantum trick. It sends the energy down every single path in the entire maze at the exact same time to instantly find the perfect, safest route through. It's an invisible efficiency that makes our most advanced human-made solar panels look completely primitive. Consider how an animal tracks a scent. Science is now showing that the basic way their noses process a smell involves something called quantum tunneling. This is where particles detect the specific vibrational frequency of odorant molecules and literally teleport through solid, impenetrable barriers inside their cells just to register an odor. And it's not just dogs or other animals with amazing noses. It's humans too. So if a tiny bird can harness quantum entanglement just to fly south, and a simple leaf can use quantum coherence to catch sunlight, why is it so hard to believe that a highly advanced, deeply connected being could evolve to harness the zero-point field?
I think that's exactly what cryptids and especially Sasquatch are doing, and why they're always a step ahead and we can never quite catch up with them. I think they not only can change their form, I think they could also self-heal. They can use the earth to heal themselves. And I think they have telepathic abilities, and they exist in a way that humans we're just not aware of, and we're just not doing those things. Okay. So now we'll go into the disclosure. Is that kind of what?
Oh, yeah, I think that probably is the next
Okay.
step here.
So, Bigfoot was not a secret until like I think it was like the early 70s, and the US government started a propaganda campaign. They got rid of all the evidence of like pamphlets and signs that they used to use to inform people of Sasquatch. And I believe they spent a lot of money. And, whenever someone would come in with a report, they always just say that you saw a bear. People that work in the industry, forestry, they're just told to tell people they saw a bear and just to deny it no matter what. And, I do have a real big problem with that, because you can get yourself into a lot of trouble, and just not being aware of it, I think, is putting the public at a huge disservice. But I think in addition to that, the true nature of Sasquatch is being hidden. And I think that is very significant. And he's going to talk about that in this disclosure piece.
Doesn't full disclosure immediately trigger a catastrophic collapse of trust in the institutions that hid it? Not that they're doing too well in that trust department now, to be honest with you, but anyway. If the Pentagon admits that they have materials of non-human origin, or if they admit they've been tracking Sasquatch or other widely reported phenomena manipulating the zero-point field, they don't just have to answer for the cover-up. They have to answer for the people who died trying to give us that same technology. Why would the powers that be ever willingly release information that proves they destroyed people? Like Stanley Meyer, Eugene Malove, and Amy Eskridge, all to protect their oil monopolies. They aren't terrified that you'll have an existential crisis about aliens or interdimensional beings. They're terrified that you'll stop paying your electric bill. They're terrified of a populace that realizes the people in charge have been intentionally suppressing the progression of humanity just to maintain their grip on the global power structure.
And I think that might be the reason for, if you want to see disclosure as a psyop, as a way to control the narrative, my theory is that, well, they know, people are going to find out eventually, but the important question of, zero-point energy, understanding the earth in the way that they do, I think they don't want us asking those questions. And that applies to not just Bigfoot, but mainly the UAP, UFO phenomena. And now it is a big topic. And I think more people understand it and are starting to learn about it. And I people get so caught up with this, the alien races and, what they're trying to do here to humans and creating hybrids. And, that probably does happen and is probably happening. But I just wish, more people will ask the more important questions. And so far, I'm kind of not really seeing that. But again, the topic is so complicated and there's so many moving parts. And I think, maybe the reason we're hearing so many stories about the scientists is just, it's simply so much that it becomes overwhelming. Like even when I start to look into it, I got very discouraged very quickly because it's just too much. I couldn't make sense of it and I couldn't keep track of everyone and what they were doing. So that could be why we're hearing so much about it. I'm not sure. But now let's talk a little about we're gonna show some testimony from STEPH. So I shared some of his testimony in my first live about cryptids, where he talked about the thing that he took down in the Northwest Territories in Canada. And he's got a lot of stories and they're very fascinating. And this one is in Wyoming. And I know Shane looked into this one because he does bring up a lot of very important topics that are very telling about, what they know. And it does touch on the aspect of mining, because his job is, he's a security expert for mining companies. So he provides high-level security for the prospecting and the security of mines. And so he comes across all sorts of cryptids, and I'll let you hear his experience here.
So at the KP Dune areas, if you look at the pulled out view, this place is called the Wind Scar. It's been scarred by the wind. The wind there has been blowing at 120 miles an hour intermittently for longer than we have been around. And it has literally ripped a large gash in the land. And that area, the source of a lot of this wind is coming from the area where that white structure is. So, but I'll go back. Our group got up there and we were with other gamma groups and there was military there. Our stuff was to go up to the edge of the pass near Kilpecker Dunes and KP Dunes there and just station. And we were to prevent egress of any biologicals that were non-human coming that way. And our instructions were to intercept anything, kill it. We were to the west there at the top of the pass. So down the line, eventually we had a lot of screams and yells about contact, and we heard a lot of stuff lighting up. And so we're at the end guard, and eventually we started getting stuff passing up to us. And it was, the best way I can describe them is it looked like a coyote version of a dogman. They're about 6 to 7 foot tall, really lanky and rangy. Combination of bipedal and quadruped movement. We probably had about 7 total break on the first wave that got through everything, and we lit them up. When he had sustained a mass fire, things didn't really have much of a chance. And those things got torn apart pretty bad, and we had intermittent contact coming up that valley for pretty much most of the night. And then eventually the flankers moved in. There seemed to be no more of these things coming up towards us, and so we advanced down to clear. So I got to look at a lot of the bodies. Like I said, the shortest one I saw was about 4 feet, probably about 7 feet on the most. Their face was just like an oversized coyote.
So a whole pack of these dogman things came, running at him, and they took them all down. And the description he gives, they seem like they were more mangy, scrawnier, more like feral dogmen, because the other ones are described to have like thicker hair, and they, sometimes are described as having like this really muscular, athletic build. but he said these were like really scrawny, more like the coyote versus a wolf, kind of. And then Shane, do you want to introduce the next?
Yeah. So not only does this incident in Wyoming involve, DOGMAN, but it also involves some mineral properties, which we'll go into soon. But one thing that caught my attention here also was that they used microwave directed energy weapons to try to get rid of the evidence. And so I'm going to play a short clip of him talking about the Maser dews.
But anyway, we got all the way back down the valley to where the construction site is, where the white site is, and they were and they were taking out dews, and these are directed energy weapons on trailers. And I didn't know what they were, but one of the other guys said that's a Maser, which is a microwave laser. These are big ones too, and they're just truck mounted. And so it looked like they had been masering the hole with these big truck mounted dews. And then we just stayed there for about 3 more days while they brought in construction equipment and got everything set up. And then after a 3-day period, we left, and there's no more.
All right. So this is the first time I've ever heard of a truck-mounted Maser. Now, I'm not sure if the person actually misspoke to Steph when he said it was a Maser, or if it actually was a Maser. But they do actually use microwave emitters on top of trucks for area denial systems, or ADS, which is a microwave sort of riot control system. Although if they were using it on the whole to get rid of the evidence, it does sound like something that's even more powerful than that. So there could be, this could be evidence of an actual truck-based microwave laser. So I thought that was actually pretty interesting. So now we're going to move on into the mineral properties and mineral and material properties of the area. And this is where I think it actually crosses over and into this, territory of unknown hidden physics and weird physics anomalies. So first, I'm going to play a clip from Steph talking about the rare earth deposits that are located in the area and some of their properties.
I was surprised to find that Half Dome itself actually has a huge extension of allanite, which is a granitic holder of rare earths. We use, like with the Hadron Collider, CERN and all that stuff, there's a lot of rare earth that's used in those. But that process happens all over the earth about 10,000 times a day due to intersection of what we call cosmic rays, causing bosonic matter to turn into fermionic matter, basically saying turning energy into matter.
I'm wondering if these cryptids or whatever are attracted to this rare earth area for some reason. I
wonder if it generates them.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people talk about the cryptids appearing and disappearing, which, I mean, a fancy way of saying it is that bosons are basically carrier matter. We don't see them, but, electromagnetic forces, gravitational forces. If you have a lot of rare earth deposits, and we have all the cosmic ray intersection, which actually has been detected and shown, and they found the decay particles showing that we do get boson to fermion transition in the atmosphere alone, mix it in with random electrical systems, random point manifestations, we could be having all sorts of boson to fermion transition that actually stays much more permanent. Ergo, we get mysterious stuff that appears out of nowhere.
All right. And these boson to fermion transitions can include electrons turning into neutrons or protons. And when you have protons popping out of it, popping into existence out of practically nowhere, you do have an environment that could be rich for transmutation of elements. So that's probably how some of these rare earth elements are even created in the first place, is through a process of natural transmutation. All right. And so, when we have those kind of conditions set up, it's you have all these weird anomalies going on. And he did talk about the portal or the rift that he believes was causing that wind scar. And I want to go into a little bit more detail on that as well.
We're covering the metaphorical strange. I mean, when it comes to portals, there's 2 types that I know of, and one's called a shimmer, which a lot of people have seen, the shimmery heat distortion thing where people get screwed up when they walk through. But the other one, nobody really has put together outside of whatever this op was. One of the reasons they shut that down is because if you have a rift to a different place or a portal, it's a conceit to think that it has the same atmospheric pressure as ours. So if you open up a hole to a different atmospheric well or a different existence that actually has a higher or lower pressure atmosphere, you're going to have a lot of wind. That's how that wind scar formed, was just constant expulsion from a rifted area. And it was intermittent, but you can see how much it did to the land.
Yeah.
And you can see that it's now stopped. So you have two major indicators that it was a persistent multi-millennium item, and now you see that the multi-millennium item no longer has those artifacts. That operation stopped that. I mean, Wyoming's still a windy place, but that area no longer has the constant intermittent systems that are just like ripped through that one very isolated, limited area. A lot of people say it's mountain geology, but if you look at it, mountain geology is always going to have a fan shape to it. You're going to just do the Reynolds coefficient of drag, or the atmosphere slows down, so it fans out. And the wind scar is novel in itself due to the fact that it is actually following a Coriolis line of the Earth. You notice how it bends. So it's actually following a Coriolis effect of the Earth, but it actually stays in a very limited boundary with a clear delineation. You can go in as deep as you want on magnification, and you'll see that there has been centuries, if not millennia, of established boundary of this wind corridor that actually changes within a 1 foot sort of a area.
All right. Now I'm going to work backwards there. Now I did go and look at this wind scar, and the closer up you zoom into it, you can see that the edge of this thing is a very delineated line, and it looks like it's been in the same place for a very long time. Now, some things that I thought were very relevant in that last clip where he was talking about the air pressure differential between one side of a portal and the other side of a portal. And if you were to open a portal and have a higher pressure on one side, you would create a sort of continuous wind like this. And, so yeah, there was the air pressure differential that seems to explain the continuous wind, because if you do have a portal open to another area that's higher pressure, that would be the similar type of situation that you would have. And then also this particular wind scar does progress from the dunes on the west all the way over to this point on the east. And what was I going to say here? So it does have a slight bend to it. And he said it follows the Coriolis force of the Earth. And that does actually seem to be the case. It does have a slight leftward bend as it moves to the east, which does correlate with the Coriolis effect. So everything this guy says has checked out so far. And when it comes to the material properties and the elements that are present in this area, everything corroborates. And so I think he's onto something.
So do we think the properties that created the material that are in these mines are also what might be creating the cryptids? Or is the fact that there is a mine and that these minerals or rare earth minerals exist, that is why the cryptids tend to be seen?
I think the energy is an explanation probably for both of those. So like the incoming energy could produce the transmutation of the elements that could explain the presence of the rare earth elements. But then much like humans and grounding, you know, there could be a way that cryptids could be harnessing that energy, sort of like we do with electrons and electricity. Perhaps there's a way that they can catch those cosmic rays coming in and transmute elements or provide some sort of other energetic processes, whether it be for metabolism or for powering their abilities. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I know in Cabin in the Woods, when he explained that because these creatures are so big, if they're existing the way we do, they would have to be consuming a massive amount of food. They are seen eating, but he says that it's kind of strange that we would see way more carcasses and things like that.
Oh yeah, so something that large would require a huge caloric intake, and you would see signs of that if it was finding its diet there in the wild.
And then something else that I hear a lot, Wes Germer from Sasquatch Chronicles, he visits a property called the Browns property, and it is understood that Sasquatch live in this area, and they've seen it many times. And something that he always brings up is they've walked in this area, they've explored, they cannot find a resting place. So he's asked, the guy's name is Stacy Brown, so where do these things lay down? Where do they sleep? You know, where's their home? And he has said, I don't know. I have no idea where they sleep. And so maybe even their resting process is different than us. You know, we recharge by sleeping. maybe they recharge in these other ways that we're discussing.
Right.
Okay. Was there anything more?
Let's see here. Let's make sure we didn't skip anything.
Did you want to show the wind scar study or?
Oh, so like I did do a little bit of, corroborating Steph's story, and I did find that there are studies on that particular wind scar. And so I did find one particular study that was talking about the ventifacts of the surface rock, and it's talking about how it's like very recent and fresh, and how they can tell that, this is an anomaly that is ongoing, at least up to the point of the study. And then let's see here. Yeah, so they do focus on the dunes and the wind, the unique wind properties that they have here. Like this particular area has its own unique wind as compared to the greater region. And yeah, so there's a very interesting anomalies here that are very well known to geologists and weather, and meteorologists as well. So yeah, this area is known for its wind and for its strange geology.
And they also discuss it's very close to the SW ranch, and that ranch has documented anomalies. They've even like photographed the anomalies of which they think is a portal. I used to watch that show. It's very hard to get information if you're not subscribed to the History Channel or you don't buy the episodes, but there is science that is proving these portals, these energy anomalies, these shifts in the electromagnetic forces in certain areas that we can't explain. Also, the 1.6 gigahertz frequency comes up when like an orb is around or one of these like supernatural events happen, and so a lot of this is documented. But I think why it's hard to get the public aware is it's complicated. It's hard to understand. There's so many aspects of science that you need to understand. So unfortunately, science and new science is not easy for me. Yeah, there's a little bit more I wanted to maybe show. I did want to touch a little bit more on the ability of the camouflage of Sasquatch, because I do believe they have this ability. And I pulled up a quick camouflage clip of octopus. You can see many clips online, but just seeing how this one animal can very quickly change and make themselves look like their surroundings. And again, yeah, reptiles can do it. And the octopus, at least the mimic octopus, can move and behave like the creature it's mimicking. So not only can it change the coloring and patterns, but it could also, mimic other animals. And they don't fully understand how they do this, but I guess the scientific explanation is that they could see very well, and so they'll see these other creatures and make themselves look like them. Okay, and then, that's really the main thing I wanted to go over. And, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, my channel has been completely demonetized. So in case you were trying to send a super, I guess you no longer can. And if you're a member, it's been suspended because YouTube has decided that they don't want me to earn anything on this channel. But I did send an appeal because the explanation they gave, I don't think applies to my channel. The excuse for the demonetization, and it wasn't just like videos or a video, it's like the entire channel, like, from now and going forward. in all aspects, memberships, and I'm pretty sure with any kind of supers. But I did send an appeal, and I think they have, there's a time period. They have like a week to give what their decision is. But yeah, I found that out very recently. So that's a big bummer. I meant to say that in the beginning, but one good thing is, yeah, super chats membership turn off. You shouldn't be, if you want to watch like my other content, you shouldn't see as many ads. You know, YouTube does show ads on their discretion, because I know I've gotten comments saying, "Oh, I saw ads on a a non-monetized video." YouTube will do that. So like when my channel was not monetized, they showed ads on it. So just because they show an ad doesn't mean the creator earns anything off of it. In many cases, they don't. So let me get to some questions and comments. Okay, I'll answer this. Why do you feel they demonetized you? You know, I, of course, really thought about it because the timing is really unusual, because my channel was starting to do better as far as like views and subscribers. So the timing kind of made me think there was something off, and the reasoning I don't think applies. They said that my content is repetitive and inauthentic. So I'm thinking the only repetitive thing is my intro and outro. And I gave this information, like I'm not reposting. I'm not putting fake images or fake videos out. You know, I think they're trying to cut back on channels that are completely AI generated. You know, they're not using an actual voice and actual research, and they're trying to cut back on, like, I guess fake research, you know. So I'm hoping that is what happened, that, you know, something, because these are all automatically done. I don't think someone like watched my videos. So I'm hoping that's the reason. And if they just get someone to look and show that, and they could see that, like, I'm an actual person, this is my voice, this is my face, these images are actual photos. I'm not like reposting, either like reposting the same content over and over, or I think what they're trying to also do is channels that just take other content and just put it on their channel, like as if it's their own, and that happens a lot. I think that's what they're trying to cut back, trying to like get rid of. So I put that information that I'm not, my content's not repetitive. At least I don't think it is. So yeah, that was what I was dealing with earlier this week. It's kind of a bummer. Okay, so I'm gonna put some of these. Shane, is there any questions or comments you wanted me to address or answer?
Oh, well, let's see here. I'll just start with the more recent ones that are fresh here. One person asked if we could set up a Patreon, and that's probably not a bad idea. If we never do get memberships back, then Patreon could be an alternative to that.
Is Patreon a completely separate platform where you upload?
Yeah.
There?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll have to look into that. You know, this channel doesn't like support my life. It's not a big money maker as far as the AdSense. It just kind of keeps the like regular expenses covered. So I pay for memberships, you know, like this program we're using right now. Like business expenses, I do have to pay dues because I do work under an LLC. You know, like when Shane and I need new equipment, you know, things like that. that's kind of, really what I want the AdSense income to cover, because like without, that's the only kind of like regular income that this does. Like the other stuff, like the book and the affiliate links, I mean, you really can't count on that. Sometimes it'll bring something in and sometimes it won't. So that's why it is such a bummer that that the YouTube AdSense is completely unavailable.
Oh, and then this question is, why are mines and the military working together? And I do think that there is kind of a national security aspect to some of these minerals, especially when it comes to lithium and, even phosphate and some of the other like potash and stuff. We're finding out that even just our normal fertilizers are a matter of national security. But especially when it comes to uranium and some of these rare earth minerals, I think that the duty to protect them is a lot more imperative than the public is aware of. And so, and it probably goes back, over 100 years like that, there's been this relationship between mining industry and the military.
Right. Without mining, those industries just don't exist. And yeah, our survival is at risk, right? Like our ability to eat and to live.
Yeah. And then we had one comment early on that was asking if it was Fort Hood or Mount Hood where the big guy was spotted. And I'm not really certain which big guy we were talking about at the time. But
You
I
mean
know
Sasquatch?
the Sasquatch, I believe.
Well, they do have you mean that that transformation? Maybe. But you know what? I have 2 links I'm going to definitely put in the description. But it's Flash of Beauty. The interview is I forgot the other guy's name, Cody and something. It's not super new. It's maybe a year old, but it might be from that area. But they'll tell you if you watch the whole video. Oh, this is good. Oh. That aliens and Sasquatches may reveal themselves at the same time. I mean, I think they've kind of tried to reveal themselves. I don't think Sasquatch, I think the reason they are more hidden now is because people hunt them. Like there are a lot of people that are trying to get a specimen, which I don't agree with, but they're smart. And from what interviews have told me is the Native Americans kind of lived alongside them and they weren't hunting them for the most part. There are stories of people getting kidnapped and wars, but I think the relationship between the 2 species has changed. And I don't blame them for wanting to hide from humans. I would hide too if that were my situation. Lieutenant Colonel Friend encountered a dogman on his mountain North Carolina property a few weeks ago. I mean, I have heard from people that take a lot of accounts that there is an uptick in the dogman werewolf sightings and encounters, which is not good because a lot of those encounters are horrible. People become so traumatized. They're not all like that, but most of them are. Like they're really scary. They so they get off on scaring people, and they want to instill fear in people. You do an excellent research and presentation. Censorship is getting worse on all platforms. Thank you. Yeah, censorship. They have not censored any of my content, not for a very long time. So that's why I don't think it's about they're trying to censor me. I think it is about the reusing and using of other people's videos that might have caused that to happen. And these are all like in the algorithm, like these notices you get. I think it's just some like AI program that has happened before. It's picked up on something that wasn't there. Oh, I've been caring for my dying husband. I'm so sorry. Love the podcast. Thank you so much. But thank you for commenting for the first time. Yeah, it really does help. You know, it's this is kind of why we do this, is to share information, meaning give information, and then also get information, because this is, you know, we're in such a special position to pull from many people. And I'm always telling people, like, my audience is probably one of the most intelligent out there. So I get a lot of, like, you guys catch things that I don't and have insight on things that I don't. So I feel like I'm very fortunate in that I can get, you know, get a lot of really good information. Okay, was there, let me see. Big feet were given their own planet and an interdimensional bridge so they can come and go at will in the Great Separation. Yeah, I mean, I think when interdimensional, I'm still trying to figure out what that means. And I don't know if it means like they step in and then they go to another world that is like ours, but a little different. I think whatever that other dimension is like vastly different than what we know. Like it could be, there could be different ways of seeing or thinking. Like, I think it's more like if we were in a dream state. I almost feel like whatever that other dimension is, it just it feels completely different. But you know, that's all I know about that. Sorry that, guys. Appreciate. Yeah, it's okay. This just happened, and you know, we put a appeal in, so I'll find out soon. But you know, until I get that answer, I'm not gonna, like, you know, change anything. I'll continue to make content as I planned, and just hope that it'll get reversed. Yeah, please like and share. And I think that's going to do it. Shane, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No, I think that covers everything I had for today.
Okay, and I don't know if I'll go live Friday just because it's been such a rough week already. And you know, because of having to deal with the YouTube stuff, I got behind. And so I guess I'll decide if I do another live this week, but I'm not sure. I might just have to plan for Monday. So in case you guys wanted to know when I'll go live again. So I think that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for being here and all of your support. And yeah, if I don't see you all on Friday, I'll be back with a live on Monday. So thank you guys, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
They piece it together. They ask why every